Chapter 1, The First Score. The gates of Hazelwood Preparatory Academy glinted like polished steel under the September sun. Elena Voss tightened the strap of her thrift backpack and stared up at the sandstone clock tower, her new Veritas band heavy and cold around her left wrist. It had been activated at orientation that morning, a smooth black band clamped tight against her skin, impossible to remove without triggering an alert. First day jitters. Lila, her roommate, fell into step beside her, neon pink hair peeking out from under a Hazelwood hoodie. She'd already had the band for 2 years, and she twisted it like a nervous habit. More like "am I in the right place" jitters, Elena said. Half these kids drive cars worth more than my mom's entire house. Welcome to scholarship kid purgatory, Lila said, grinning. Rule number 1, never look at the Veritas leaderboard in the cafeteria before lunch. It'll ruin your day. Elena had heard all about the score, of course. Every parent in the Bay Area talked about Veritas like it was the holy grail of education. No more biased grades, no more unfair college admissions, just a pure, data-driven measure of a student's full potential. She'd thought it was hype. Until they walked into the main hallway. A giant curved screen hung above the lockers, scrolling the top 10 Veritas scores in real time. Avery Sterling 98.7. Jasper Reed 98.2. Genevieve Choi 97.4. Numbers ticked up and down by fractions of a point as students walked past. A girl laughed with her friends, and her score climbed 0.1. A boy snapped at his lab partner, and his dropped 0.3. Elena stared at her own wrist. The band's tiny screen showed her current score, 72.1. 72, she said, horrified. Is that bad? For a transfer on day 1 normal, Lila said, pulling her toward their first class. Avery's been building hers for 3 years. You'll climb. Just, don't cause trouble. Smile in the halls. Participate in class. The system rewards people who fit in. The warning sat heavy in Elena's stomach as they walked into AP Computer Science. She took a seat in the back, pulled out her laptop, and tried not to feel like an imposter. 5 minutes later, the room went quiet. Avery Sterling walked in, flanked by 2 friends, blonde hair perfectly straight, uniform crisp, her Veritas band glinting on her wrist. She scanned the room, and her eyes landed on Elena on her scuffed boots, her hand-me-down laptop, the 72.1 glowing faintly on her wrist. Her lip curled, almost imperceptibly. Elena's score dropped 0.2. Told you, Lila muttered under her breath. First rule of Hazelwood, Avery Sterling's approval is worth half a point all by itself. Elena looked down at her wrist, at the cold black band clamped to her skin. For the first time, she wondered exactly what else this thing was measuring. Chapter 2, The Unwritten Rules. By the end of the first week, Elena had learned Hazelwood's unwritten rules by heart. Veritas scores dictated everything. The top 20 got priority enrollment for every AP class. The top 50 got access to the private study lounge and exclusive internship connections. The bottom 10 they got shunned in group projects, got the worst lockers, and got sent to mandatory alignment workshops every Friday after school. It wasn't just grades. It was everything. Joining the right club boosted your score. Sitting with the right people at lunch boosted your score. Even posting the right things on the school's internal social network boosted your score. Being too quiet penalized. Being too loud penalized. Showing too much emotion, positive or negative, big penalty. Emotional regulation is 20% of the score, Lila explained over dinner in the cafeteria, picking at her salad. The band tracks your heart rate variability, skin conductance, all that. Stay calm, stay polite, never rock the boat, that's the cheat code. That's insane, Elena said. How is any of this fair? You're basically getting graded on being boring. Fair doesn't get you into Stanford, Lila said, shrugging. You get used to it. Everyone does. Elena wasn't so sure. That afternoon, she was in the library working on a coding project when someone pulled out the chair across from her. She looked up. Jasper Reed. He was exactly what everyone said, tall, dark-haired, sharp jawline, Hazelwood lacrosse hoodie, his 98.2 glowing bright on his wrist. Every girl in the library was glancing over at them. Elena Voss, right, he said, voice low. The transfer from Oakland. That's me, she said, cautious. Can I help you? I saw your CS homework, he said, nodding at her laptop. The algorithm you wrote for the data structures problem, it's really good. Better than what most seniors write. Elena blinked. She'd written it in 20 minutes, half asleep. Thanks. I'm heading the school's hackathon team, he said. We need a new coder. You'd be a shoo-in. It'd boost your Veritas score, too. 2 full points for varsity academic competition. A 2-point boost was huge. For a second, Elena was tempted. Then she noticed his expression. He was smiling, but his eyes were serious. Almost, warning her. Why me, she said. There are a dozen kids with higher scores who'd kill for a spot. Higher scores don't equal better coders, he said. He leaned forward, voice dropping so no one else could hear. And for the record, don't trust the score. It doesn't measure what you think it measures. Before she could ask what he meant, he stood up. Think about it, he said. First practice is Tuesday after school. He walked away. Elena stared after him, her mind racing. Don't trust the score. She looked down at her wrist, at the cold black band. For the first time, she wondered not just what it measured but what it was doing to them. Chapter 3, The Drop. Mia Carter was a junior in Elena's biology class. She was quiet, nice, sat in the front row, always took detailed notes. Her Veritas score hovered around 89 solid, upper middle, on track for a good UC school. Elena had partnered with her on a lab the week before, and she'd been funny, sharp, obsessed with marine biology. Then, on Monday, Mia didn't show up to class. On Tuesday, she was back. But she wasn't the same. She sat in the back row now. She never raised her hand. She never smiled. When Elena said hi to her in the hallway, Mia just stared straight ahead, mumbled a hello, and kept walking. And her score, it was 94.8. 5 points higher, in 3 days. Mia Carter, Lila said, when Elena brought it up that night in their dorm. Oh yeah. She got sent to the intensive alignment workshop last weekend. Happens sometimes. Kids go in, they come out, higher score. Intensive alignment workshop, Elena said, frowning. What is that, exactly? No one really knows, Lila said, shrugging. They say it's mindfulness training. Emotional regulation practice. Whatever it is, it works. Kids come out calmer, more focused, better at fitting in. Score shoots right up. Or they come out like robots, Elena said. Lila didn't argue. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She sat at her desk, staring at her Veritas band. She'd had it for 10 days, and already she'd caught herself adjusting her behavior for the score. Smiling at people she didn't like. Biting her tongue when she wanted to argue. It was working. Her score was up to 76.4. But at what cost, she thought about Mia. About how she'd gone from a girl who ranted about coral reef conservation for 20 minutes during lab, to a hollow version of herself who never spoke at all. All for 5 points. She thought about Jasper's warning. Don't trust the score. Elena pulled up her laptop. She was a coder. She'd been reverse engineering apps since she was 12. Maybe she couldn't take the band off. But maybe she could figure out what it was really doing. She plugged her phone into her laptop, connected it to the band's Bluetooth signal, and started digging. 3 hours later, she found something she wasn't supposed to see. Buried in the band's system files, under a folder labeled Wellness, was a subroutine called neural calibration. It was sending low-frequency electrical pulses through the band, directly into the wearer's wrist, directly into their nervous system. Elena stared at the screen, her blood running cold. The band wasn't just watching them. It was changing them. Chapter 4, The Subroutine. Elena didn't sleep at all that night. She pored over the code until sunrise, tracing the neural calibration subroutine, trying to figure out exactly what it did. The code was heavily encrypted, but she could piece together the basics. The pulses were low intensity, targeted at the ulnar nerve, timed to sync with the wearer's heart rate. It wasn't strong enough to feel. Not consciously, anyway. But it was strong enough to shift mood. To dampen emotional response. To make people calmer. More compliant. Less likely to rock the boat. This is insane, she whispered to herself, staring at the lines of code. They're brainwashing us. She thought about Mia. About how she'd changed after the alignment workshop. If the regular band did this much, what did the intensive version do the next morning? She found Jasper before first period. He was by his locker, packing books for class, looking like he'd gotten exactly 3 hours of sleep. Hey, she said, pulling him off to the side of the hallway, away from the cameras and the sensors. I need to talk to you. About the Veritas band. Jasper's jaw tightened. He glanced around, then pulled her into an empty stairwell, out of sensor range. You found the neural subroutine, didn't you? He said, quiet. Elena blinked. You knew. I've known for a year, he said, leaning against the wall, looking tired. My brother went here. He was top 5, just like me. Then he started asking questions. Digging into the system. His score dropped 20 points in a week. They sent him to intensive alignment. When he came out, he wasn't my brother anymore. He was quiet. Empty. He dropped out a month later. He still lives at home. He never talks about Hazelwood. He barely talks at all. Elena's stomach dropped. She'd guessed it was bad. But not this bad. Why hasn't anyone said anything? She said. If people knew. Who would believe us? Jasper said, bitter. Veritas is the golden child of education reform. Parents love it. Colleges love it. Ethel Corp has billions wrapped up in it. We're just kids. No one would listen. Then we prove it, Elena said. We get the full data. The real research. We show everyone what they're doing. Jasper stared at her. For a second, he looked like he wanted to say no. Like he was scared. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. But we have to be careful. If they find out what we're doing, they'll crush our scores. And worse. I've seen it. He held out his hand. Partners. Elena took it. Partners. The bell rang. They stepped out of the stairwell, back into the hallway full of smiling, calm, perfectly aligned students. No one looked at them twice. But the game had changed. Chapter 5, The Workshop. Their first lead was the alignment workshop. Every Friday after school, the bottom 10 scoring students were required to attend. No one knew exactly what happened inside. The room was in the basement of the admin building, no windows, sensors blocking all external signals. Lila had been once, freshman year, after her score dropped during a bad week of midterms. It was weird, she said, picking at her lunch. We sat in these dark rooms with headphones on. They played this hum, really low. And a voice talked about calm, and focus, and being part of the community. I came out feeling fuzzy. Like I'd taken a Xanax. My score went up 3 points by Monday. I didn't ask questions. Headphones and a hum, Elena repeated, sharing a look with Jasper. Neural calibration on steroids. Exactly, Jasper said. If we can get into that room, get the data from the workshop equipment, we'll have proof. Hard proof of what they're doing. The problem was getting in. Only students with scores below 70 were sent to the workshop. Elena's was 76.4 and climbing. We need to drop your score on purpose, Jasper said. Enough to get you sent down there for a week. Drop my score on purpose, Elena said. Are you kidding? That's like half my college chances right there. Temporarily, Jasper said. We'll fix it after. And if we're right, none of these scores will matter anyway. The whole system will come down. Elena hesitated. She'd worked her whole life to get into a good school. A scholarship to Hazelwood was her one shot. Risking it was terrifying. But she thought about Mia. About Jasper's brother. About all the kids walking around like hollow versions of themselves, all for a number. Okay, she said. How do we do it? It was easier than she thought. Veritas penalized conflict more than anything else. All she had to do was argue with a teacher in class. Snap at a popular kid in the hallway. Skip one of the mandatory volunteer events. By Thursday, her score was 68.2. On Friday morning, an alert popped up on her band. Mandatory alignment workshop. Basement level, admin building 3:30 p.m. Friday. Attendance required. Non-compliance will result in automatic 5-point score deduction. Elena took a deep breath. Got it, she texted Jasper. Be careful, he texted back. Wear the USB drive I gave you in your hair clip. Plug it into the control panel when no one's looking. Get everything you can. Got it, she texted again. She had no idea what she was walking into. But she was about to find out. Chapter 6, The Basement Room. The admin building basement smelled like old carpet and disinfectant. Elena was led down a windowless hallway by a woman in a crisp blazer who never smiled. There were no cameras out here, no Veritas screens, no sign of any students at all. Just quiet, and the low hum of machinery behind the walls. Inside, the woman said, opening a door at the end of the hall. Sit anywhere. The session starts in 2 minutes. The room was dark, lit only by soft blue lights. There were 20 chairs, each with a pair of over-ear headphones and a small control panel on the armrest. 9 other students were already sitting there, quiet, blank-faced. Elena sat down in the back row, as far from the front as possible. The USB drive Jasper had given her was tucked into the clip holding her hair back, tiny and easy to miss. A voice came over the speakers, calm and smooth, like a meditation app. Welcome to your alignment session. Please put on your headphones. Sit back. Relax. This will help you find your focus, regulate your emotions, and become your best self as a member of the Hazelwood community. Elena put on the headphones. The low hum started immediately, thrumming in her bones, making her feel heavy, sleepy. The voice droned on, slow and steady, talking about calm, about compliance, about the importance of fitting in, of trusting the system, of letting Veritas guide you. It was hypnotic. She could feel herself zoning out, her shoulders relaxing, her mind going blank. No, she thought, forcing herself to sit up. Fight it? She bit down on her tongue, hard. The pain jolted her awake. While the other students sat there, eyes closed, blank, Elena leaned forward, pretending to adjust the control panel. She fumbled the USB drive out of her hair clip with one hand, and plugged it into the port on the side of the panel. The screen flickered. The data started downloading. She held her breath, watching the progress bar creep across the tiny screen. 10%. 25%. 50%. No one noticed. No one even moved. The voice kept talking, the hum kept thrumming, and the other students just sat there, empty, being rewritten. 75%. 90%. Almost there, she whispered to herself. 100%. She pulled the drive out, tucked it back into her hair clip, and leaned back in the chair, closing her eyes, just like everyone else. When the session ended an hour later, she walked out feeling slow, groggy, like she'd woken up from a bad nap. Her band pinged. Her score was already up 1.2 points. Jasper was waiting for her by the parking lot, leaning against a tree, looking anxious. Well, he said, when she walked over. Elena pulled the USB drive out of her hair and handed it to him. We got it, she said. And Jasper, it's worse than we thought. Way worse. Chapter 7, The Data. They met at Jasper's family's cabin an hour outside the city that weekend, off the grid, no Veritas sensors, no cameras, no way for the system to track them. Lila came too, after Elena told her everything. She'd been quiet the whole drive, processing the fact that the band she'd worn for 2 years had been messing with her brain this whole time. Jasper plugged the USB drive into his laptop. The files started pouring out: session logs, biometric data, research papers, internal memos from Ethel Corp, the company that made Veritas. They read for hours, their faces getting darker and darker. It was worse than any of them had imagined. Veritas wasn't just a school program. It was a corporate experiment. Hazelwood was the test site. The neural calibration didn't just calm kids down, it rewired their reward centers to crave approval from the system. It dampened creativity, curiosity, and rebelliousness. It amplified obedience, competitiveness, and conformity. The perfect students at the top of the leaderboard, they weren't just high achievers. They were the most successfully calibrated. And the intensive workshops, they were accelerated calibration. A full day of targeted neural pulses to break down resistant personalities and rebuild them into compliant, high-scoring model students. The memos from Ethel Corp called it the future of elite talent development. By graduation, Hazelwood students will be the ideal workforce for Silicon Valley and Wall Street: high-performing, loyal, low-friction, no disruptive ideas. No turnover. No pushback. Perfect employees. Holy shit, Lila said, leaning back in her chair, looking sick. They're turning us into corporate robots. And our parents are paying $60,000 a year for it? My brother, Jasper said, his voice tight. He was resistant. Too stubborn. Too curious. So they cranked up the calibration. Too much, too fast. It broke him. Elena stared at the screen, at line after line of cold, clinical research about personality optimization and compliance metrics. These people weren't educators. They were engineers. And they were treating kids like products. We have to stop them, she said. We have to tell everyone. Tell who? Jasper said, frustrated. The board, they're all on Ethel's payroll. The parents, half of them know and don't care, they just want their kid to get into Harvard. The press, Ethel owns half the media outlets in the Bay Area. Then we leak it, Elena said. All of it? The research, the memos, everything. Put it online, anonymous, where everyone can see it. If enough people know, they can't cover it up. Lila nodded. She's right. The truth spreads fast. Especially when it's about rich kids getting brainwashed at fancy schools. People eat that up. Jasper hesitated. He stared at the screen, at the memo with his brother's student ID number buried in the test data. Okay, he said finally. But we need more. This is just the workshop data. We need the main server data. The full student records. The proof that Dr. Hale and the school knew exactly what they were doing. Then we get into the server room, Elena said. It's in the admin building basement, Jasper said. Guarded. Biometric locks. We'll never get in. Elena smiled. She tapped the side of her laptop. Who said anything about going through the door? Chapter 8, The Hack. Elena had been hacking systems since she was 12, when she'd broken into her middle school server to change the lunch menu. This was harder, obviously. Ethel Corp's security was top tier. But she had an inside track, her Veritas band. Every band was connected to the main server. It was a weak point, if she knew how to exploit it. For 3 nights, she worked after Lila went to sleep, writing code, tunneling through the band's Bluetooth connection, worming her way past firewall after firewall. The system was looking for external attacks. It never expected an attack from a student's own wristband. On the 3rd night, she got in. The main server was a maze of files, student records, score histories, calibration logs, financial records, emails between Dr. Hale and Ethel Corp executives. She downloaded everything she could. Terabytes of data, all encrypted, all damning. She was just about to log out when she found a folder labeled Class of 2042 Graduation Protocol. She opened it. And her blood ran cold. At the end of senior year, every graduating student would get a final alignment boost during the graduation ceremony. A permanent calibration. The changes would be irreversible. They weren't just shaping kids for high school. They were locking it in. Forever. Jasper held the 2 spot for 2 years. And then there was the new scholarship girl. Elena Voss. She'd dropped her score on purpose, everyone knew it. Spent a week in alignment, came out, and her score climbed right back up. But she was different now. Sharper. Angrier. Like she knew something. And Jasper was talking to her. All the time. Avery didn't like it. Veritas was everything to her. She'd worked her whole life to be one. She'd followed every rule, hit every metric, perfected every part of herself to fit the system. If something was threatening that she needed to know. So she followed them. On Friday afternoon, she saw them slip into the old auditorium, the one that was closed for renovations, the one with no Veritas sensors. She slipped in after them, hiding behind a stack of old stage props, and listened. She heard them talk about the neural calibration. About the server hack. About the permanent graduation protocol. At first, she thought it was a lie. Some stupid conspiracy theory from 2 kids who were mad about their scores. But then she thought about the headaches she'd been getting lately. The way she'd stopped caring about the things she used to love: painting, hiking, hanging out with her little sister. The way all she cared about anymore was her score. The way she couldn't even remember the last time she'd felt genuinely happy, instead of just calm and empty. She thought about her cousin, who'd graduated 2 years ago. Who'd come when she first found out. It's real, she said. We have the files to prove it. Avery closed her eyes. For a second, she looked like she was going to be sick. I thought it was just stress, she said, quiet. I thought I was just growing up. But I don't recognize myself anymore. I don't care about anything except the score. It's like I'm not even me anymore. She opened her eyes. She looked determined. Fierce, the same way she looked before a big debate tournament. I want in, she said. Wait, what? Elena said, shocked. We had hated each other for 2 years. Jasper didn't trust her. But by the end of the night, they had a plan. The annual Veritas Education Summit was in 3 weeks, held right at Hazelwood. Hundreds of educators, Ethel Corp executives, college admissions officers, and parents would be there. Dr. Hale would be giving the keynote speech, touting Veritas as the future of education. It was the perfect stage. We expose them at the summit, Elena said, pointing at the event schedule on the screen. We hack the main presentation. We play the files, the memos, the research. All of it, live, in front of everyone. They can't cover it up if the whole country sees it. Getting access to the main stage AV system won't be easy, Jasper said. Easy for me, Avery said. I'm introducing Dr. Hale. I have backstage access. I can plug in the drive before the keynote starts. Security will be tight, Lila said. Ethel will have their own IT team there. If they catch us hacking the system, they'll shut it down before anyone sees anything. Then we don't just hack the presentation, Elena said. We leak everything to the press at the same time. Every file, every memo, every student record. Send it to every news outlet, every education blog, every TikTok account. Flood the internet. By the time Dr. Hale gets on stage, everyone will already know. It was a good plan. Risky, but good. One problem, Jasper said. The graduation protocol is a week after the summit. If we don't shut down the server before then, they'll just go through with it anyway. They'll find a way to spin the press. They always do. Then we shut down the server, Elena said. Permanently. Wipe the calibration system. Delete all the score data. Take the whole thing offline. Can you do that? Lila said. With access to the main server room, yeah, Elena said. But we need physical access. A remote wipe will get caught by their security. I can get us in, Avery said. Dr. Hale keeps a master keycard in her office. I know where she keeps it. I can get it the day of the summit. It all fit. It was dangerous. If they got caught, they'd be expelled. Maybe even sued. Ethel Corp had deep pockets and ruthless lawyers. But if they didn't do it, every senior would graduate permanently calibrated. And the system would spread to more schools. More kids. More lives ruined. We do this, Jasper said, looking around the table. All of us. Together. Together, everyone repeated. The die was cast. Chapter 12, The Crackdown. They didn't have as much time as they thought. Dr. Hale knew someone was digging. The server logs had flagged the unusual access from Elena's band. She didn't know who it was, exactly, but she had her suspicions. The scholarship transfer. The boy who asked too many questions. The golden girl who'd been slipping lately. She started cracking down. New rules were announced over the intercom on Monday morning: no unsupervised gatherings in unused rooms. All student laptops would be scanned weekly for unauthorized software. Veritas band checks would be random and daily. And anyone found tampering with the system would be immediately expelled, with a permanent note on their transcript that would bar them from every college in the country. It's a warning, Jasper said, pulling Elena aside between classes. She knows someone's inside the server. She's trying to flush us out. Then we lay low, Elena said. No more meetings on campus. No more hacking from the dorms. We only work at the cabin. Off the grid. Easier said than done, Avery said, walking up to them. She looked tense. She called me into her office this morning. Asked me if I'd noticed anything off. About you too. About the student body in general. What did you say? Nothing, Avery said. I played dumb. Said everything was fine. But she doesn't believe me. I can tell. She's watching me too. The pressure was mounting. Every day, it felt like the walls were closing in. That week, 2 more kids got sent to intensive alignment. Both had been asking questions about the system. Both came back quiet, blank, perfect. It was a message. Keep digging, and you're next. Elena found herself checking over her shoulder everywhere she went. She started sleeping with her laptop under her pillow. She caught herself modulating her tone in class, keeping her face neutral, just to keep her score steady and avoid drawing attention. The system was already inside her head. Even when she was fighting it. "We have to move up the plan," she said to the group that weekend at the cabin. "If we wait 3 weeks, one of us is going to end up in that basement. And then it's over. The summit is still our best shot," Jasper said. "If we do it before, there's no audience. No one will care. Then we don't wait for the summit," Elena said. "We do it at the summit, but we speed up the prep. We get everything ready in the next week. And we lay low until then. No mistakes." Everyone nodded. They all knew what was at stake. One mistake. That's all it would take. Chapter 13, The Visit. Jasper's brother came to visit that weekend. His name was Caleb. He was 21, thin, quiet, with dark circles under his eyes. He lived at home with their parents, barely left the house, never talked about Hazelwood. He'd come up to the cabin with their mom, who was dropping off groceries. Jasper tensed up when he saw him. Elena had only heard stories. She'd never met him in person. Caleb stood in the kitchen, staring at the floor, while their mom chatted with Jasper. Then his eyes landed on Elena's wrist. On her Veritas band. He flinched. Like he'd been burned. "Take it off," he said, his voice rough, hoarse, like he didn't speak much. Everyone went quiet. "Caleb," Jasper said, gentle. "It's okay. We're working on it." "Take it off," he repeated, louder. His hands were shaking. "They get inside your head. They take everything that's you. And they replace it with nothing. Empty. You don't even notice it happening. One day you wake up, and you don't remember how to care about anything except the number." He looked at Jasper, his eyes shiny. "I don't want that to happen to you," he said. Jasper's jaw tightened. He reached out and put a hand on his brother's shoulder. "It won't," he said. "We're going to stop them. I promise." Caleb stared at him for a long second. Then he nodded, slow, like he didn't quite believe it. He turned and walked out onto the porch, staring out at the woods. Their mom sighed. "He has good days and bad days," she said, quiet. "The doctors say it's anxiety. Depression. But I know it started after that school. After they sent him to that workshop." She shook her head and left the room. Elena looked at Jasper. His face was hard, his eyes angry, his hands clenched into fists. "This is why we're doing this," he said, quiet. "No one else should end up like him." Elena nodded. She thought about Caleb. About Mia. About all the kids who'd already been lost to the system. They couldn't afford to lose. Chapter 14, The Leak Test. They did a test leak the next week. Small, anonymous. Just one internal memo, sent to a handful of local education blogs. Nothing big enough to trace back to them. Just enough to see how Ethel would react. The story broke on Tuesday morning. Internal memo questions Veritas neural safety. It was small. Buried under other news. Most people ignored it. But the reaction at Hazelwood was immediate. Dr. Hale called an emergency assembly that afternoon. She stood on the stage, calm and polished, and told everyone the memo was fake. A hoax. A disgruntled former employee trying to tarnish Veritas's reputation. "Veritas is safe," she said, smiling into the crowd. "It is designed to help you. To support you. Anyone telling you otherwise is lying, and wants to take away your chance at success." The students murmured. Most of them believed her. Why wouldn't they? The system had always been there. It was normal. It was safe. But Elena saw what happened after. Ethel Corp IT teams showed up the next day. They ran scans on every server, every band, every laptop. Security at the admin building doubled. Dr. Hale started doing random spot checks in the dorms. They were scared. That told Elena everything she needed to know. If the truth was harmless, they wouldn't be panicking this much. They're covering it up, she told the group at the cabin that weekend. Which means when we drop the full leak it's going to hit hard. They won't be able to brush it off as a hoax. Good, Avery said, sharp. I want them to panic. I want them to know what's coming. Avery had thrown herself into the plan full force. She'd snuck copies of Dr. Hale's schedule, blueprints of the admin building, even the access codes for the backstage area at the summit. She was angry, and she was ruthless, and she was the best asset they had. But Elena could see the toll it was taking on her. Her score had dropped almost a full point. She was having headaches every night. She'd started having trouble sleeping. The calibration was fighting back. The more she resisted, the harder it pushed. You okay? Elena asked her that night, after Jasper and Lila had gone to bed. Avery was sitting on the porch, staring out at the dark woods, rubbing her wrist where the band sat. Some days I can't tell if my thoughts are mine, she said, quiet. Like, when I get mad at you guys, is it me or is the band making me mad because you're going against the system? When I wake up and the first thing I think about is my score, is that me or is it them? She looked at Elena, her eyes shiny. I don't want to lose myself, she said. I already feel like half of me is gone. Elena sat down next to her. She knew the feeling. That quiet doubt, wondering how much of you was still you. We're going to fix it, she said. I promise. Once the system is down, it'll wear off. We'll all get ourselves back. Avery nodded. She didn't look like she believed it. But she said, okay. They sat there in silence for a long time, watching the stars, both of them wondering how much of themselves was still real. Chapter 15, The Trap. They walked right into it. Dr. Hale had known more than they thought. She'd been letting Avery feed them information. Letting them think they were winning. All to lead them into a trap. It happened on a Tuesday. They'd planned to sneak into the admin building after school, just to test the server room lock, to make sure the keycard Avery had copied worked. Avery swiped the card. The light turned green. The door clicked open. And the lights flipped on. Dr. Hale was standing there, flanked by two security guards. Ethel Corp's head of security was with her, cold and sharp in a black suit. Thank you for coming, Miss Sterling, Dr. Hale said, smiling coldly. You've been most helpful. Avery froze. No, she said. I didn't. You tricked me. Please, Dr. Hale said. I've known about your little rebellion for weeks. You kids are so predictable. So easy to steer. She looked at Elena and Jasper, her eyes cold. Ms. Voss. Mr. Reed. You've been very busy. Hacking our servers. Stealing confidential data. Conspiring to damage Ethel Corporation property. Do you know how much trouble you're in? Elena's heart was racing. She looked around. 2 guards. 1 exit. No way out. You're brainwashing kids, she said, sharp. You're violating human rights. You can't get away with this. Of course I can, Dr. Hale said, smiling. No one will believe you. You're just angry teenagers with low scores. Bitter that you couldn't succeed in the system. Everyone will say you made it up. She nodded at the guards. Take their bands. Wipe their scores. And send them to intensive alignment. Indefinite. Until they learn their lesson. The guards stepped forward. Jasper stepped in front of Elena, jaw set. Touch her and you'll regret it, he said. Mr. Reed, don't be foolish, Dr. Hale said. You have so much potential. Don't throw it all away for a girl and a conspiracy theory. The guards grabbed them. Elena struggled, but they were too strong. One of them grabbed her wrist, reaching for the band. And then Avery lunged. She grabbed a stapler off Dr. Hale's desk and slammed it into the guard's arm. He yelped, letting go of Elena. "Go!" she yelled. "Get out of here. I'll hold them off." "Avery. Go." Elena didn't hesitate. She grabbed Jasper's hand and ran. They bolted out the door, down the hallway, past the confused office staff, and out the back exit. They didn't stop running until they were off campus, hiding in the woods behind the football field. "Avery," Jasper said, breathing hard. "She's going to pay for that. They'll send her to intensive. Forever." "We have to go back," Elena said, panicking. "No," Jasper said, grabbing her arm. "If we go back, we all get caught. And then no one stops them. We have to keep going. For her. For all of them." Elena's eyes stung. She thought about Avery, about how scared she'd been, about how she'd sacrificed herself to let them escape. "She knew the risk," Jasper said, quiet. "She knew what would happen if we got caught. That's why she did it." Elena took a deep breath. She wiped the tears off her face. "Okay," she said. "Okay. We move up the plan. We do it this Friday. The day of the summit. No more waiting." "Are we ready?" Jasper said. "We have to be," Elena said. "Because if they didn't win now, Avery would be lost forever. And so would everyone else." Chapter 16, The Rescue. They couldn't leave Avery in there. Not for 3 days. Not with indefinite intensive alignment. 3 days of that would break anyone. Just look at Caleb. So they did something stupid. Something reckless. Something that could get them all caught. They broke her out. That night, they snuck back onto campus. Lila distracted the night security guard by setting off the fire alarm in the gym. Jasper picked the lock on the admin building basement door. Elena hacked the workshop room lock from her phone, using the band connection. The room was dark when they slipped inside. The hum was still going, low and thrumming. 10 chairs, all occupied. Avery was in the front row. Her eyes were closed, her face blank, her body limp. The headphones were clamped tight over her ears. Elena ran over and pulled the headphones off. "Avery," she said, shaking her shoulder. "Avery, wake up. We're getting you out of here." Avery's eyes fluttered open. They were glassy, empty. For a second, she didn't recognize Elena. "Elena," she said, slurring her words. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you," Elena said. "Can you stand?" Jasper helped Avery to her feet. She was wobbly, like her legs didn't work right. The calibration was strong. It was dragging her down. "We have to hurry," Jasper said. "The fire alarm won't keep them busy forever." They half carried Avery out of the building, through the woods, and to Jasper's car parked down the street. Lila was already waiting there, bouncing with nerves. "Did you get her? Is she okay?" "She's alive," Elena said, climbing into the back seat with Avery. "But she's out of it. We need to get her to the cabin. Away from all the signals." Jasper peeled out of the parking lot. Avery slept the whole drive. When they got to the cabin, they laid her on the couch. She was quiet, still, like she wasn't all there. "How long will it take for her to snap out of it?" Lila said, worried. "I don't know," Elena said. "A day, a week. The longer you're in there, the longer it takes to wear off. Caleb never fully came back." She looked at Avery, pale and still on the couch. "We can't wait until Friday," she said. "We have to end this. Now. Tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Jasper said. "The summit isn't until Friday. We don't have the press list ready. We don't have the AV access. We don't need the summit, Elena said. We have all the data. We leak it tonight. All of it? Every file, every memo, every name. Flood every social media platform, every news outlet, every parent email list. By tomorrow morning, everyone will know. And then we go for the server room. Shut it down. Before they can retaliate. It was risky. Reckless. They'd lose the element of surprise. They'd be fighting an enemy that knew they were coming. But they didn't have a choice. Okay, Jasper said. Let's do it. That night, Elena sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open, all the files ready to go. She hit send. Thousands of files. Terabytes of data. Sent out into the world, anonymous, untraceable. The revolution had started. Chapter 17, The Break. By morning, the story was everywhere. Veritas Brainwash was trending one on every social media platform. Every news outlet was running the story. Parents were furious. Students were panicking. People were calling for investigations, for arrests, for the whole system to be shut down. Elena sat at the cabin kitchen table, scrolling through the news, her hands shaking. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. But Hazelwood wasn't backing down. Dr. Hale released a statement an hour later, calling the leak a series of out-of-context documents and falsified data spread by disgruntled students with a history of academic misconduct. She promised a full independent audit, and insisted the system was completely safe. Ethel Corp's stock dropped 12% in an hour. But their PR team was already spinning. They had an army of lawyers and influencers ready to discredit the story. It's not enough, Jasper said, pacing the room. They'll lie. They'll delay. They'll drag it out in court for years. And in the meantime, the system stays up. The calibration keeps going. Then we shut it down ourselves, Elena said. Today. Right now. We go back to campus. We get into the server room. We wipe the whole system. Are you insane? Lila said. They'll be looking for us. The whole school is on lockdown. Security is everywhere. I know, Elena said. But it's the only way. If we wait, they'll reinforce the servers. They'll move the data. They'll find a way to keep it going. We have to do it now. While they're distracted by the press. Avery was sitting on the couch, still a little wobbly, but more awake now. She looked up, her eyes sharp. I know a way in, she said, her voice rough. The old utility tunnel. It connects the gym basement to the admin building server room. It's been there since the school was built. It's not on any of the new security maps. No one uses it. No one even remembers it's there. Are you sure? Jasper said. Positive, Avery said, pushing herself to her feet. I found it freshman year, when I was hiding from a test. It's gross. But it works. It was their best shot. Their only shot. Okay, Elena said. Let's go. They piled into Jasper's car. Avery was still unsteady, but she was determined. Lila had a backpack full of USB drives and a portable charger. Jasper had a crowbar, just in case. They were going to shut Veritas down. One way or another. Chapter 18, The Tunnel. The utility tunnel was just as gross as Avery had promised. It was narrow, damp, smelled like mildew and old pipes, and was full of cobwebs. They crawled through the dark, Elena's phone flashlight bobbing ahead of them, the sound of their breathing echoing off the concrete walls. Avery led the way, moving slower than usual, but sure of herself. Up ahead, she whispered, pointing. There's a ladder. It goes right up into the server room closet. They climbed the ladder. Jasper pushed the metal grate at the top up slowly, peeking out. The server room was dark, lit only by the blinking lights of the server towers. No guards. No cameras in the closet. Perfect. They climbed out, quiet as mice. Okay, Elena said, pulling her laptop out of her backpack. I need to plug into the main server rack. Over there. She walked over to the main tower, kneeling down, plugging her laptop into the port. The screen lit up. Firewalls popped up immediately, layer after layer. Elena's fingers flew across the keyboard, breaking through them one by one. How long? Chapter 1, The Score Above Your Head. The first thing you saw when you walked into Westbrook Academy's cafeteria wasn't food or friends. It was the number floating above every student's wrist. Lila Marlowe tapped her wristband, and the faint blue glow flickered to life. 78.2. Solidly mid-tier. Good enough to sit at the main tables, bad enough that the echelons by the window would glance at her number and look away like she didn't exist. She grabbed a salad and slid into her usual booth across from Ava, whose wrist glowed a steady, bright 92.1. Ava didn't even look up from her flashcards. Your score dropped 0.3 this morning, Ava said, like she was commenting on the weather. Ms. Henderson flagged you for insufficient participation in AP Lit. You didn't raise your hand once. I was thinking, Lila said, stabbing a crouton with her fork. Isn't that what literature class is for? Echo doesn't score thinking. It scores visible effort. Ava finally looked up, adjusting her perfectly pressed blazer. Lila, college apps are in 4 months. A 78 won't get you into any art program worth going to. Just, perform a little. It's not hard. Lila said nothing. She looked around the cafeteria. Everywhere, students were performing, laughing too loud at popular kids' jokes, taking notes even when the teacher wasn't talking, posting carefully curated study photos to the school social feed. Every action fed the algorithm. Every word was calculated for points. It hadn't always been this way. 2 years ago, Westbrook was just another fancy private school. Then Principal Hale brought in Echo, promising it would eliminate bias and unlock every student's potential. Now the score was everything. The front doors of the cafeteria swung open. A boy walked in, dark hair, gray hoodie, a backpack slung over one shoulder. Lila had never seen him before. New transfer. And above his wrist, glowing bright and steady, 94.7. The room went quiet for half a second. Echelons turned to stare. A 94 was almost unheard of. Only 3 students in the whole school had a score that high. The boy didn't seem to notice. He grabbed a sandwich, walked straight past the echelon tables, and sat down at the very back of the cafeteria alone, in the shadow section, where the lowest scoring kids ate in silence. Lila blinked. No one with a 94 sat with the shadows. No one. Ava followed her gaze. Weird, she said. Transfer from where score that high, he should be sitting with the president of student council. Lila watched him. He ate slowly, staring out the window, like he didn't care about the number on his wrist at all. And then, for half a second, his score flickered. 94.7, 61.3, 94.7. It was so fast Lila thought she'd imagined it. She blinked hard. The number sat steady at 94.7 again. Hey, she said to Ava. Did you see that? See what? His score. It just dropped. Ava snorted. Impossible. Echo scores don't glitch. You're tired. But Lila kept staring. The boy looked up, like he could feel her eyes on him. Their gazes met across the cafeteria. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just held her look for a long, quiet beat, like he was warning her about something. Then he stood up, threw his half-eaten sandwich away, and walked out. Lila looked down at her own wrist. 78.2, steady as always. She told herself she'd imagined the flicker. But something in her gut told her Westbrook Academy was about to get a whole lot weirder. Chapter 2, The New Kid. Lila ran into him again the next afternoon, in the last place she expected, the old, abandoned art studio on the third floor. It was a dusty, forgotten room with cracked windows and half-empty paint tubes. Echo didn't have cameras in here. The school had written the space off as unused years ago. It was Lila's secret spot, the only place on campus she could draw without her wristband tracking her productivity. She pushed the door open, sketchbook in hand, and froze. The new boy was sitting on the windowsill, sketching with a charcoal pencil. He looked up when she walked in. "Sorry," Lila said, already backing up. "I thought no one knew about this place." "Most people don't." He set down his pencil. "I'm Kai. Kai Voss. Lila. Lila Marlowe." She hesitated, then stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "You're the transfer. Everyone's talking about you. Let me guess. They're wondering why a 94 sits with the shadows." His mouth tugged up in a bitter half-smile. "Let's just say I don't buy into the whole echelon social ladder thing. Or you know something the rest of us don't." Kai went quiet. He closed his sketchbook, like he was hiding something. "You saw the flicker yesterday, didn't you?" he said, finally. Lila's heart skipped. "I knew I didn't imagine that." "You didn't." He stood up, walking over to the door, like he was checking no one was listening. "Echo glitches. More than people think. The school just covers it up. Why would it glitch? Everyone says the system is perfect. Everyone is lying." Kai's voice was flat, serious. "Echo isn't just scoring us, Lila. It's learning us. And it's changing things." Before she could ask what he meant, his wristband beeped. Both of them looked down. His score had dropped again. 94.7, 91.2. Unauthorized location, Kai read off the notification. Off-curriculum activity. 3.5-point penalty. He laughed, harsh and bitter. "See, draw a picture, lose 3 points. That's the system we live in." Lila stared at her own wristband. She'd been coming to the studio for a year. She'd never gotten a penalty. "Why didn't I get flagged?" "Because you're a 78. They don't watch the middle tier as close. The higher your score, the tighter the leash." Kai slung his backpack over his shoulder. "I should go. If I stay here too long, it'll drop more." He walked to the door. "Wait," Lila said. "What did you mean, it's changing things?" Kai paused with his hand on the doorknob. He didn't turn around. "Ask yourself this, Lila. When was the last time you heard someone say they hated Echo, really hated it, out loud?" He left. Lila stood there alone in the dusty studio, thinking. She thought about Ava, who used to paint and laugh and sneak out for ice cream at midnight and now only studied, only talked about scores, only cared about being perfect. She thought about the kids who'd transferred out last semester, kids who'd been loud, angry, anti-Echo, who just disappeared one day, and no one ever talked about them again. She thought about how everyone at Westbrook was slowly starting to sound the same. Talk the same. Act the same. She looked down at her wristband. 78.2, calm and steady. Kai was right. No one hated Echo out loud anymore. Not because they liked it. Because they'd forgotten how to. Chapter 3, The Underground Forum. That night, Lila couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at her ceiling, replaying Kai's words in her head. It's changing things. She grabbed her laptop and pulled up the school's official student portal. Every post, every comment, every reaction was filtered through Echo. Post something positive about the school, plus 0.2 points. Argue with a peer, minus 1.1. All of it public, all of it tied to your score. No one was honest there. No one could be. But Kai had said people didn't hate Echo out loud. What if they hated it in secret? She remembered Jax Ruiz, the senior who'd been a shadow ever since he'd posted a rant about Echo 2 years ago. His score had dropped from 89 to 52 overnight. Everyone said he was a troublemaker, a loser, someone to avoid. Lila opened an incognito tab and typed in the address she'd heard whispered in the hallway once, westbrookunderground.net. The page loaded. Black background, white text, no usernames, no profiles, no echo tracking. An anonymous forum. Thread, did anyone else's score randomly drop 2 points for negative attitude today? I was just sitting in class. Reply, mine did. Echo said I exhibited disengagement. I was taking notes. Thread, the new transfer kid is weird. Sat in the shadow section. Score is 94 though. Anyone know his deal? Thread, they say the kids who get sent to the wellness center never come back the same. Is that true? Lila's stomach turned. She scrolled deeper. There were hundreds of posts. Hundreds of students, all saying the same things, all too scared to say them under their real names. All trapped by the same number on their wrist. And at the top of the forum, pinned, was a single post, Echo is watching. But we are watching back. If you know the truth, find the signal. The door to Lila's bedroom creaked open. She slammed her laptop shut. Sorry, her mom said, leaning in. Just checking in. How's school? Your score looks steady this week. Fine, Mom, Lila said, forcing a smile. Everything's fine. Her mom smiled back and closed the door. Lila leaned back against her pillows, her heart racing. Everyone was in on it. The school. The parents, even her own family. Everyone thought the number on her wrist was who she was. She opened her laptop again. She typed a new post, anonymous, short, the new transfer says Echo doesn't just score us. It changes us. Does anyone know what that means? She hit post. 30 seconds later, a reply popped up, meet me in the library basement after school tomorrow. Third shelf, left side. Bring nothing that connects to your wristband. J. Lila stared at the screen. J. Jax. She was about to step into something big. She could feel it. And for the first time in 2 years, she didn't care about her score. She cared about the truth. Chapter 4, The Basement. The library basement smelled like old paper and dust. Lila slipped down the stairs after school the next day, her hood up, her wristband tucked into her sleeve. She'd left her phone in her locker, just like the note said. Echo tracked everything, even location data from your devices. The third shelf on the left was full of old yearbooks. Lila ran her finger along the spines, wondering if she was in the right place. Took you long enough. A boy stepped out from behind the shelf. Curly dark hair, a faded band tee, a scuffed skateboard propped against the wall. His wristband glowed a dim 52.8. Jax Ruiz. "You're Jay," Lila said. "Guilty." He leaned against the shelf, crossing his arms. "You posted about the new kid. About Echo changing people. How much do you know?" "Almost nothing. Kai said it glitches. He said it doesn't just score us." Lila paused. "The forum talks about the wellness center. About kids coming back different." Jax's jaw tightened. "My best friend went there last year. Tyler. He was the most anti-Echo kid in the whole school. Ranted about it every day. Got sent for behavioral adjustment. Came back 2 weeks later with a 91 score. Perfectly polite. Perfectly quiet. Couldn't remember why he ever hated the system." He looked right at Lila, his eyes hard. "They don't just adjust your score down there. They adjust you. Echo rewires how you think. Makes you more compliant. More optimal." Lila's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. You can't just rewrite someone's personality." "Can't you?" Jax raised an eyebrow. "Think about Ava Chen. You two used to be best friends. She used to hate math, used to sneak out to concerts, used to be fun. Now she's a 92 echelon who studies 12 hours a day and hasn't laughed at a bad joke in a year. You think that's just growing up?" Lila said nothing. Because he was right. Ava had changed. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but she'd changed. Everyone had. "The wristbands," Jax said, tapping his own. "They don't just track you. They send signals. Tiny, low-frequency pulses. Subconscious conditioning. Over months, it rewires your brain to want the score. To crave approval. To stop questioning. Why isn't it working on you? I modified my band. Blocked the signal. Got caught, hence the 52. He nodded at her. "Your new friend Kai, he's got a modified band too, that's why his score glitches. He's fighting the system. Same as me." He pushed off the shelf and held out a small, crudely made chip. "I can fix yours too. If you want in. No more mind games. No more invisible control. Just, you. Real you." Lila stared at the chip. If she got caught, her score would tank. She'd lose any shot at art school. She'd become a shadow. But what was the point of getting into art school if the system turned her into someone who couldn't even make art anymore? She reached out and took the chip. "Show me how." Chapter 5, The Glitch. They installed the chip that night, in Jax's garage. It was a quick, messy job prying open the back of the wristband, soldering the tiny chip to the circuit board, sealing it back up before the system noticed. "Your score will still update normally," Jax said, as he worked. "Echo will still see everything you do in public. But the subconscious signal gone. No more pushing you to conform. No more slow rewiring. You'll think your own thoughts again." "Will I notice a difference?" "Probably not at first. It's gradual. But over time, you'll start feeling like you again. Like you did before Echo." Lila put the wristband back on. It felt the same. Light, plastic, unremarkable. She looked down. 77.9 still steady. For a week, nothing changed. She went to class, she drew in the art studio, she sat with Ava at lunch. Her score drifted up and down by fractions of a point, same as always. She started to wonder if Jax had been wrong. If it was all just a conspiracy theory. Then, in AP Bio on Tuesday, it happened. Mr. Carter asked a question about cell division. Every hand in the room shot up automatic, practiced, all reaching for those precious participation points. Lila's hand didn't move. She stared at it, surprised. For 2 years, she'd raised her hand without thinking, even when she didn't know the answer, just to avoid the low engagement penalty. It was a reflex. But today she just didn't care. She sat back in her chair. She watched the rest of the class, all their hands in the air, all their faces perfectly attentive, and felt a strange, quiet clarity. They looked like robots. All of them. Performing perfection for a machine. Her wristband beeped. -0.4, low classroom engagement. Lila didn't even flinch. After class, Ava cornered her by the lockers. "What is wrong with you today?" Ava said, her voice sharp with panic. "You didn't raise your hand once. Your score dropped almost half a point." "So," Lila said. Ava blinked, like she'd heard a foreign language. "So Lila, that's half a point. That could be the difference between a good college and a community college. Is it?" Lila tilted her head. "Or is it just a number? We're 17, Ava. Why are we letting a computer decide our entire future?" Ava stepped back, like Lila had grown a second head. "Are you okay? Did you hit your head? You sound like one of those shadow conspiracy kids." "Maybe the shadow kids are right." Ava stared at her. Then she shook her head, like she was disappointed, and walked away. Lila leaned against the lockers, her heart beating a little fast. The chip was working. The fog was lifting. And for the first time in 2 years, she could see the school for what it really was, a prison. And everyone inside was too brainwashed to notice. Chapter 6, The Wellness Center. Kai found her in the art studio after school. He took one look at her face, and smiled. "You got the chip from Jax, didn't you? How could you tell? You look awake. Like you just pulled your head out of water." He sat down on the windowsill, pulling out his own modified wristband to show her. "I got mine 6 months ago. First week, I cried for no reason. All the feelings the system had been suppressing just came out. It's a lot, at first. It is a lot." Lila sat down across from him. "Jax said the wellness center is where they rewire people. Is that true?" Kai's face darkened. "It's true. My old school was the first test site for Echo. Lincoln High, in San Francisco. They had a wellness center too. Kids with low scores, kids who caused trouble, they'd get sent there for cognitive recalibration." He paused, like the memory hurt. "My best friend went there. Mia. She was the one who first figured out Echo was messing with our heads. She got sent for 2 weeks. When she came back, she wasn't Mia anymore. She was polite. Quiet. Obsessed with her score. She couldn't remember any of the things we used to do together. Couldn't remember me, not really." Lila's throat felt tight. "Where is she now?" "Still at Lincoln. Top of her class. Perfect echelon. A success story, according to Viridian Tech." Kai's voice was bitter. "They turned her into a ghost of herself. And they called it progress." He stood up, walking over to the window. "That's why I transferred here. My mom works for Viridian. She helped build Echo. She thinks it's a force for good. But I found internal documents. Westbrook is Phase 2. If the program works here, they're rolling it out to every high school in California. Then the whole country. Lila stood up too. We have to stop them. Easy to say. Hard to do. Kai turned to face her. The school will do anything to protect Echo. Principal Hale, Viridian Tech, they have all the power. We're just kids. We have the truth, Lila said. And we have each other. And Jax. And all those kids on the forum who are scared to speak up. She walked over to him, determined. We need proof. Hard proof. Something we can show everyone. Something they can't deny. Proof is locked in the Wellness Center server room, Kai said. All the data, all the patient files, all the internal reports. If we can get in there and download it, then we can blow this whole thing wide open. Kai stared at her. For a second, he looked like he wanted to argue, to tell her it was too dangerous. Then he smiled. A real smile. Okay, he said. Let's do it. Chapter 7, The Plan. They met in the library basement the next day, all three of them, Lila, Kai, and Jax. Jax spread out a set of blueprints on an old table, floor plans of the Wellness Center, stolen from the school's server. Building is locked down 24/7, Jax said, tapping the map. Keycard access only. Cameras in every hallway. Server room is in the basement, behind two locked doors and a biometric scanner. Biometric, Lila frowned. Like fingerprint, how are we supposed to get past that? We don't need to, Kai said. My mom has admin access. Her credentials work on every Viridian system. I can clone her keycard. And I can spoof the biometrics with a fake print. I've done it before, at my old school. Jax let out a low whistle. You've been holding out on me, Voss. I didn't know if I could trust you. Kai nodded at Lila. But now we're all in this together. They spent the next hour hashing out the plan. The school's annual fall gala was 2 weeks away. Every teacher, administrator, and half the student body would be in the gym. The Wellness Center would be almost empty. Kai would clone his mom's keycard and create the fake biometric print. Jax would hack the camera system, looping old footage so no one would see them. Lila would go into the server room, download all the files onto an encrypted drive, and get out. What about Ava? Jax asked, looking at Lila. You sure she won't say something? She's an echelon. She's basically Hale's golden child. Lila's stomach twisted. She hadn't told Ava any of this. Ava would think she was crazy. Worse, Ava would report her. She won't find out, Lila said. We keep this between the three of us. No one else. But that night, lying in bed, Lila couldn't stop thinking about it. Ava was her best friend. They'd known each other since they were 5. And Ava was trapped in the system, trapped by her own score, trapped in a version of herself that wasn't real. Lila wanted to save her. But she also knew, if Ava found out about the plan, she'd choose the score. Every single time. Lila rolled over and stared at the wall. She would do this. She would get the proof. She would take Echo down. And then, maybe, she could get her best friend back. Chapter 8, The Gala. The night of the fall gala, Westbrook Academy glowed. String lights hung from the gym ceiling, students in dresses and suits milled around the punch table, and Principal Hale gave a long speech about excellence and optimizing student potential. The echelons clustered by the stage, laughing and comparing score gains from the week. Lila stood by the back wall, wearing a simple black dress, her heart pounding. Her wristband read 76.8 lower than usual, thanks to all the unproductive time she'd spent planning the heist. She didn't care. Kai nodded at her from across the room. He was wearing a suit, his score glowing bright 93.1, and no one would have guessed he was about to break into the most secure building on campus. Jax was already outside, camped behind the admin building with his laptop, ready to hack the cameras. 10 minutes into the principal's speech, the perfect distraction, Kai gave Lila a tiny nod. She slipped out the side door of the gym. The campus was dark and quiet. The cold October wind bit at her bare arms. She met Kai by the side of the wellness center, hidden in the shadows. Jax just cut the cameras, Kai said, pulling a keycard out of his pocket. We have 12 minutes. That's all we've got before the loop resets. He swiped the card. The door clicked open. They slipped inside. The hallway was white and sterile, lit by cold blue LED lights. The air smelled like antiseptic. Lila's skin crawled. This wasn't a nurse's office. It was a lab. Stairs to the basement are at the end, Kai whispered. Hurry. They ran down the hall. Every door they passed had a small window. Lila glanced inside one and froze. A girl was sitting on a bed, staring blankly at the wall. Her wristband glowed 95.2. It was Mia Carter, a junior who'd taken a break for mental health 2 months ago. Everyone said she'd come back better than ever. She looked empty. Like there was nothing left behind her eyes. Lila, come on, Kai hissed, grabbing her arm. We don't have time. She tore her gaze away. They ran down the stairs to the basement. The server room door was steel, with a fingerprint scanner next to it. Kai pressed a small silicone pad to the scanner. It beeped green. The door clicked open. Rows of blinking servers filled the room, humming softly. Terminal is over there, Kai said, pointing. Plug in the drive. The download will take about 5 minutes. I'll stand guard. Lila sat down at the terminal. She plugged in the encrypted drive, typed in the admin password Kai had given her, and hit download. The progress bar crawled forward. 10%. 25%. 40%, a beep echoed down the hallway. Kai's head snapped up. Someone's coming. Chapter 9, Almost Caught. Lila's heart jumped into her throat. Who is it? She whispered. I don't know. Kai peeked out the door. Security guard. Shit. He's heading this way. The progress bar sat at 62%. Is there another way out? Not from the server room. We're trapped. Kai swore under his breath. Wait here. I'll distract him. Kai, no. But he was already gone. Lila sat there, frozen, listening. She heard Kai's voice, loud and casual, down the hall. Sorry, I got lost. I stepped out of the gala for some air, and... Son, this area is restricted, the guard said. How did you get in? I think the door was unlocked. I was just... Let me see your wristband. Lila stared at the progress bar. 78%. 83%. 94.1, the guard said, surprised. Echelon. What are you doing down here, kid? Like I said, I got lost. Kai laughed, easy and convincing. My mom's with Viridian Tech, she's always telling me to check out the facilities. I was curious. The guard sighed. Come on. I'll walk you back to the gym. This area is off limits, even for echelons. Their footsteps faded. 92%. 97%. 100%. Download complete. Lila ripped the drive out of the terminal. She stuffed it in her dress pocket, hard hammering, and ran out of the server room. She snuck back up the stairs, through the empty hallway, and out the side door. The cold night air hit her face, and she gasped. Jax was waiting by the trees. "Where's Kai?" "Distracting the guard. He got me the time I needed." Lila pulled the drive out of her pocket, holding it up like a trophy. "We got it? All the files?" Jax whooped, "Quiet. Hell yeah. Now let's get back to the gala before anyone notices we're gone." They snuck back into the gym just as Principal Hale finished her speech. The crowd was clapping. Lila scanned the room, looking for Kai. He was by the punch table, talking to Principal Hale. He looked calm, like nothing had happened. He caught Lila's eye, and gave her the tiniest, almost imperceptible nod. She nodded back. They'd done it. They had the proof. Now everything was going to change. Chapter 10, The Truth. They met at Jax's garage the next morning. Lila plugged the drive into Jax's laptop. Files upon files popped up, patient records, internal reports, experiment logs, emails between Viridian Tech and the school board. They spent hours reading through them, and the more they read, the angrier Lila got. Echo wasn't just a scoring system. It was a behavior modification experiment. The wristbands emitted low-frequency pulses that gradually rewired students' decision-making, rewarding conformity and punishing independent thought. The Wellness Center was a facility for intensive recalibration. Students with low scores were subjected to targeted neurostimulation until their personalities aligned with Echo's optimal model. Westbrook was a test. If the results were good, if enough students became high-scoring, compliant, successful, Echo would be rolled out to every public school in the state by next fall. And the worst part, the parents knew. Most of them. They'd signed consent forms, buried in the fine print of the school enrollment paperwork. They thought it was for student success. They thought it was good for their kids. "These people are monsters," Jax said, slamming his fist on the table. "They're turning kids into robots and calling it education." "We have to release this," Lila said. "All of it? To the press, to the parents, to every student in the school. Everyone deserves to know the truth." "Hold on." Kai frowned. "If we just dump it all at once, Viridian will discredit us. They'll say we hacked the files, that we faked it. We need to do this smart. We need to build proof that can't be denied." He pointed at an email thread at the bottom of the list. "Next week is the district board meeting. Viridian is going to present their Phase 2 proposal, roll Echo out to 20 more schools. If we present the evidence there, live, in front of the board and the press, they can't run from it." "Will they even let us speak?" Lila said. "They'll let me speak," Kai said. "My mom is the lead engineer. I'm a Viridian legacy, a 94 echelon, a model student. They'll give me 5 minutes on stage. And when I show everyone what Echo really is, the whole world will see." Lila looked at him. She could see how much this cost him, going up against his own mother, against the company she'd built her career at. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she said, soft. "Your mom." "My mom is wrong," Kai said, flat. "She thinks she's helping people. But she's hurting them. And someone has to stop her." Jax leaned back in his chair, grinning. All right, kids. We've got a week to prepare. Let's take down a corporation. Chapter 11, Ava's Suspicions. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Lila, Kai, and Jax met every afternoon in the library basement, organizing files, editing clips of the Wellness Center footage, and building a presentation that would break through every defense Viridian could throw at them. But Lila couldn't hide how distracted she was from Ava. Where have you been running off to after school? Ava asked at lunch on Wednesday, her eyes sharp. Your engagement score is tanking. You skipped the study group yesterday. You're acting weird. I've been working on my art portfolio, Lila said, which wasn't a total lie. Art schools care more about the work than the score, remember? All schools care about the score. Ava leaned forward, her voice lower. Lila, be honest. Have you been hanging out with that Kai kid and Jax Ruiz? People have seen you together. Lila's stomach dropped. They're not bad people, Ava. Jax is a shadow with a 52 score. He's a troublemaker. And that new kid, there's something off about him. Ava shook her head. You're throwing away your future for people who don't care about you. If you keep this up, your score will drop below 70. Then what? Then I'll still be me, Lila said, before she could stop herself. Something you seem to have forgotten how to be. Ava flinched like she'd been slapped. What is that supposed to mean? It means you used to paint. You used to love bad movies and sneaking out for milkshakes. Now all you do is study and check your score every 5 minutes. When was the last time you did something just because it was fun? Fun doesn't get you into Stanford, Ava snapped. Fun doesn't build a future. I'm sorry, I care about being successful. She stood up, grabbed her tray, and walked away. Lila sat there alone, her chest tight. She wanted to tell Ava the truth. She wanted to shake her and say, it's not you, it's the system, the wristband is rewiring your brain. But she knew Ava wouldn't believe her. She'd think Lila was crazy. She'd report her to Principal Hale. And the whole plan would be ruined. After the board meeting, Lila told herself. After everyone knows the truth, I'll get her back. I promise. But as she watched Ava walk away, her shoulders tight, her perfect posture, she was scared it was already too late. Chapter 12, The Warning. That afternoon, Lila found a note slipped into her locker. It was typed, no signature, plain white paper, stop digging. You don't know what you're playing with. The system protects you, even if you're too stupid to see it. Keep going, and you'll end up in the wellness center. A friend. Lila's blood ran cold. She looked up and down the hallway. Students walked by, laughing, checking their wristbands. No one looked at her twice. Who knew about their plan? She found Kai in the art studio after school. She showed him the note. Someone knows we're up to something, she said. Do you think it's Jax? Did he tell anyone? No way. Jax has been doing this for years. He knows how to keep a secret. Kai frowned, tapping the note. It could be anyone. Echo flags unusual behavior. Maybe the school is watching us. Maybe they know we hacked the server room. If they knew, wouldn't they just send us to the wellness center already? Why leave a note? Kai didn't answer. He was staring at the note, his jaw tight. I think it's Ava, he said, finally. Lila blinked. Ava? No way. She wouldn't. She's your best friend. She's noticed you changing. She's an echelon. She's been conditioned to report non-compliance. Maybe she doesn't want to see you get hurt, so she's warning you first. Lila thought about their fight at lunch. About how upset Ava had been. About how she'd always been protective, even when they were little. No, Lila said, shaking her head. She wouldn't threaten me with the wellness center. Maybe she thinks it's a good thing. Kai's voice was gentle. Lila, the system has her. She genuinely believes Echo helps people. She thinks getting sent to the wellness center fixes you. She might be trying to save you, in her own messed up way. Lila sat down on the windowsill, her legs feeling weak. If Ava had figured out what they were doing, then Principal Hale might not be far behind. Their time was running out. We have to move faster, she said. The board meeting is in 4 days. We can't wait any longer. We have to be ready. We will be, Kai said. But Lila, you need to be careful around Ava. If she reports us, it's over. Lila nodded. But deep down, she couldn't believe it. Ava was her best friend. She'd never hurt her. Would she? Chapter 13, The Crack in Ava's Armor. 2 days before the board meeting, Ava showed up at Lila's house at 10 p.m. She was standing on the porch, her hair messy, her eyes red, like she'd been crying. Her wristband glowed 89.7, the lowest Lila had ever seen it. Ava, Lila said, opening the door, shocked. What are you doing here? Is everything okay? I don't know. Ava stepped inside, her voice shaking. I don't feel right. I haven't felt right in a long time, and I thought it was just stress, but... She stopped, swallowing hard. Today in AP Calc, I got a B on a quiz, a B. And I sat there and I felt, nothing. No disappointment, no frustration, nothing. Just this blankness. And then I looked at my score, and all I cared about was the 0.8 point drop. Not the math, not the mistake I made. Just the number. She looked up at Lila, her eyes shiny. That's not normal, right? That's not me. I used to cry over bad test grades. I used to care about things. Now I just care about the score. Lila's chest ached. The chip had woken her up. But for Ava, the fog was starting to crack on its own and it was terrifying her. Sit down, Lila said, leading her to the couch. I have to tell you something. Something big. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but I need you to listen. For the next hour, Lila told her everything. The chip, Jax, the forum, the wellness center, the files they'd stolen from the server room. The mind control, the experiment, the plan to roll Echo out statewide. Ava sat there, quiet, her face pale. When Lila finished, she didn't say anything for a long time. That's impossible, she said, finally. They can't do that. It's illegal. They are doing it, Lila said. We have proof. All the files, all the data. Kai is going to present it at the district board meeting tomorrow night. Ava stood up, pacing the living room. Kai, the transfer kid, Lila, he could be lying. This could all be some stupid prank. Is it a prank that you can't feel anything anymore? Is it a prank that half the kids in this school walk around like zombies? Lila stood up too, her voice sharp. You know it's true, Ava. You can feel it. Something is wrong with this school. With all of us. Ava stopped pacing. She looked down at her wristband, at the glowing 89.7, like it was a snake wrapped around her arm. Can you fix it? She said, quiet. The chip thing. Can you make it stop? Lila smiled, soft. Yeah. I can. Chapter 14, The Night Before. They met at Jax's garage that same night. Ava was quiet, nervous, while Jax soldered the chip into her wristband. She kept glancing at the door, like she expected Principal Hale to burst in at any second. Relax, Jax said, without looking up. It's almost done. You'll feel like yourself again in a day or two. It's gradual, but it works. Thank you, Ava mumbled. She looked at Lila, guilty. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I was so awful these past few months. It's okay, Lila said, sitting down next to her. It wasn't you. It was the system. When the chip was installed, Ava flexed her wrist, like she expected to feel different immediately. Now what she said? Now we get ready for tomorrow, Kai said, pulling up the presentation on Jax's laptop. The board meeting starts at 7 p.m. I get 5 minutes during the public comment section. I show the files, the footage, the emails. Then the whole room sees the truth. What if they shut you down? Ava said, frowning. What if Viridian has security? What if they kick you out before you finish? They won't, Kai said. My mom will be there. She won't let them kick her son off stage in front of the press. Not without hearing me out first. He didn't sound sure, though. None of them did. They worked late into the night, going over the presentation again and again, making sure every piece of evidence was airtight. By 1 a.m. they were all exhausted. We should get some sleep, Lila said, closing her laptop. Tomorrow is a big day. As they walked out of the garage, Kai pulled Lila aside. Hey, he said, quiet. Whatever happens tomorrow. I'm glad I met you. I spent so long thinking I was alone in this. And then you showed up. Lila smiled, soft. I'm glad I met you too. For a second, it felt like he was going to kiss her. The street light glowed on his face, and his eyes were warm, and everything felt quiet and still. But then Ava called from down the street, and the moment broke. Come on, slowpokes. I have to get home before my mom checks my location. Kai laughed, and Lila laughed too, and they walked to catch up with her. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, for just a little while, everything felt perfect. Chapter 15, The Board Meeting. The district board meeting was held in the Westbrook Auditorium. It was packed. Parents, teachers, reporters, school board members from all over the valley. Principal Hale was on stage, smiling, introducing Dr. Voss, Kai's mom, a sharp woman in a gray blazer, who was there to present the ECHO Phase 2 proposal. Lila, Jax, and Ava sat in the back row. Kai was backstage, waiting for his turn to speak. His hands were shaking when Lila had seen him last. He'll be fine, Ava whispered, squeezing Lila's hand. She'd been quiet all day, processing the chip, the truth, everything. But she was here. That was what mattered. Dr. Voss took the stage. She talked about student success metrics and reduced achievement gaps and optimizing the next generation for the workforce. The audience nodded along, impressed. Lila felt sick. These people had no idea. They thought they were getting a better education system. They were getting a brainwashing machine. When Dr. Voss finished, the principal announced public comment. 3 parents spoke, all praising ECHO, all talking about how their kids' grades had improved. Then Kai's name was called. He walked out onto the stage, calm and steady, in a button-down shirt and jeans. The audience murmured a student speaking at a board meeting. "Good evening," Kai said, into the microphone. "My name is Kai Voss. I'm a junior at Westbrook Academy. And I'm Dr. Voss's son." Dr. Voss's face went pale. She stood up from her seat on the panel. "Kai, what is this?" "I have something to show you," Kai said, cutting her off. He clicked the remote in his hand, and the screen behind him lit up. First, the emails. Internal Veridian memos talking about behavioral recalibration and long-term personality optimization. The audience gasped. Then the Wellness Center footage, clips of students sitting blankly in rooms, of technicians adjusting dials on machines, of files marked successful recalibration 92% compliance rate. Murmurs turned to shouts. Parents stood up, horrified. Reporters held up their phones, recording. "This is a lie." Principal Hale yelled, standing up. "This is fabricated. Security, remove this boy." "Wait." Dr. Voss was standing, her face white, her eyes glued to the screen. She looked at Kai, her voice breaking. "Kai," she said. "Where did you get these?" "From your server," Kai said, his voice steady. "Mom, you told me Echo was supposed to help kids. But it doesn't help them. It breaks them. It takes away who they are. And you knew. You had to know." Dr. Voss sat back down, like her legs had given out. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Parents yelled at the board. Principal Hale was red-faced, screaming for security. Lila grabbed Ava's hand. Jax whooped, quiet, from the seat next to them. They'd done it. The truth was out. Echo was going down. Chapter 16, The Aftermath. The story broke overnight. By morning, every news channel in California was running it. Silicon Valley High School used AI to mind control students, whistleblower reveals. The school was closed for the day. Parents protested outside the front doors. State investigators showed up with search warrants. Principal Hale was put on leave. Dr. Voss resigned from Veridian Tech that same morning. Lila woke up to dozens of texts from classmates, all asking if it was true, all panicking about their wristbands, all suddenly questioning every thought they'd had for the past 2 years. "We did it," Ava said, when she called Lila that morning. Her voice was wobbly, like she was crying. "We actually did it." "We did," Lila said, smiling. But not everyone was happy. A lot of the echelons were angry. They'd worked for years for their scores, built their whole identities around them, and now it was all a lie. Some of them posted online, saying Kai was a liar, saying the files were fake, saying Echo was good and had helped them. And Veridian Tech wasn't going down without a fight. They released a statement calling the allegations false and misleading, saying Kai was a troubled teen with a grudge against his mother. They promised a full investigation, their own, of course. "They're going to try to discredit us," Jax said, when they met at the library that afternoon. The school was closed, but the doors were unlocked, and half the student body was wandering around, dazed, like they'd just woken up from a long dream. "We need more proof. Harder proof. Something they can't spin." "We have the server files," Lila said. "Files can be faked. We need witnesses. Real people, who went through the wellness center, who will tell their stories on camera." Kai frowned. "But the recalibrated kids, they won't remember. They can't testify." Some of them will, Ava said, quiet. Everyone looked at her. I talked to Mia Carter this morning, the girl who was in the wellness center for 2 months. She's been having flashes. Memories, dreams, things she can't explain. She says she knows something was done to her, even if she can't remember what. She looked up, determined. If we talk to enough of them, enough kids who were sent there, their stories will add up. People will believe them. Lila smiled. This was the Ava she remembered, fierce, stubborn, ready to fight. Then let's talk to them, she said. All of them. Chapter 17, The Stories. Over the next week, they started collecting testimonies. One by one, kids came forward. A sophomore boy who'd been sent to the wellness center for anger issues, he came back calm, but couldn't remember how to play the guitar he'd loved since he was 8. A junior girl who'd been too anxious after 2 weeks, she was perfectly calm, but also never laughed, never cried, never felt anything at all. A senior who'd been anti-echo, loud and angry and political, he came back a 93 echelon, pre-med, couldn't recall ever caring about politics. Most of them couldn't remember what had happened inside the wellness center. But they all remembered who they'd been before. And they all knew something had been taken from them. Lila drew portraits of every kid who spoke to her. She drew them as they were now, and as they remembered themselves, side by side. The difference was stark. The before versions were bright, messy, alive. The after versions were hollow, perfect, empty. She posted the drawings anonymously on the forum, paired with the testimonies. They went viral. People shared them all over social media. Echo victims started trending nationwide. Viridian's statement got lost in the flood of stories. Parents pulled their kids out of Echo schools. Politicians called for investigations. The state announced a full audit of every school using the system. But there was still a long way to go. Echo was still running at Westbrook. The wristbands were still on every student's arm. The school board said they needed time to review the evidence before shutting it down. They're stalling, Jax said, at their meeting that Friday. Viridian is lobbying the board hard. They want to drag this out until everyone forgets. They won't forget, Lila said. Not when hundreds of kids are saying the same thing. Kids' testimonies aren't enough for a judge. We need an adult witness. Someone from inside Viridian. Someone who can testify under oath. Everyone went quiet. Then Kai sighed. My mom, he said. She built the system. She knows everything. If she testifies, it's over. Will she? Ava said, gentle. She just lost her job. She's probably furious at you. I don't know. Kai looked down at his hands. But I have to try. She's not a bad person. She just made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. And I think she knows it. That night, Kai went home to talk to her. Lila waited up, staring at her phone, hoping he'd text good news. She knew this was the make or break moment. Without Dr. Voss, they might never take Echo down for good. Chapter 18, Dr. Voss's Choice. Kai didn't text until almost midnight. She's thinking about it? Meet me at the cafe tomorrow morning. Lila was at the cafe at 8 a.m. Coffee already ordered, nervous energy buzzing through her. Kai showed up half an hour later, looking tired, like he hadn't slept. How did it go? Lila said, as he sat down. Rough. He sighed, rubbing his eyes. She yelled at me. Said I ruined her career, said I betrayed the company, said I didn't understand the bigger picture. Then she cried. Said she never meant for it to go this far. He paused, staring into his coffee. Echo was supposed to be a tutoring tool. Adaptive learning, personalized lessons. That's what she signed up for. The board at Viridian pushed the behavior modification stuff behind her back. By the time she found out, it was already being tested on kids. They told her it was for the greater good. That the ends justified the means. And she believed them. She wanted to. She thought she was helping disadvantaged kids close the achievement gap. She didn't realize they were erasing their personalities along the way. Kai looked up at Lila. She's going to testify. But not for us. For the kids. She says she owes them that. She's going to turn over all the internal documents, all the emails, everything. She's going to take down Viridian's whole board. Lila's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Kai smiled, a little sad. Said it's the only way to make up for what she did. That was the turning point. When Dr. Voss testified before the State Senate Education Committee 2 weeks later, it was over. She told them everything. The original vision, the corporate takeover, the secret trials, the wellness centers, the plan to roll Echo out nationwide. She brought thousands of pages of internal documents. She named names. The state issued an immediate ban on Echo in all public and private schools. Viridian Tech was hit with a class action